This is the scene here at the Berg River in the center of Pau. Behind me, repair work going onto a weir which has been severely damaged, and some drama on the river today. One of the Swedish paddlers, Tommy Karls, nearly lost his life when he lost his boat and his paddle after being swept underneath a tree on the river.
Got caught under the branches. This tree was sticking out in the water, and I was caught underneath for a while. It's almost a minute, almost 1 minute and a half, and I couldn't get loose in the beginning, but then after all I came loose and came up, so I got really scared today.
But I take it you lost your boat and your paddle?
Yeah, I lost everything.
So what does this mean for the race tomorrow?
I don't know. Hopefully I'll find a new boat. I have a spare paddle with me, I can use that one, but the main thing is to find a good boat for the race.
So top Swedish and Dutch competition on the Berg this year for Robbie Herefeld. Should be a great race, what with a high river and 322 competitors taking part. The river is currently at one of its highest levels ever, so it promises to be an exciting race. As with last year, an international team will challenge a South African national team. Graham Monteith, Robbie Herefeld, Henk Watermeyer and Grant Wollaston will take on 2 Swedes and 2 Hollanders. That team's top star is Stefan Gustafsson, second in last year's World Marathon Championships in Brisbane, and his compatriot Tommy Karls, and the Dutch pair of Dennis van Vlaanderen and Rick Dahmen, all experienced on the international circuit. And to add some spice to the women's race, top Australian Jane Hall, third in last year's World Championships, will be paddling the Berg as well. The defending champion is Robbie Herefeld, who will be aiming for a hat-trick of wins this year.
It'll be a bit harder this year, I think. This year's race will be harder than last year's, definitely.
And for yourself, having trained with Graham Monteith and paddled doubles with him for a fair amount, is it a definite matter of you two working together to the exclusion of everybody else?
That race you can't really work together, only to a certain extent, because on the first day you've got the channels, and if 2 of you aren't up there in the front, then it's not going to work. But if we can get it right, we'll work together, but we're not going to bank on it.
I think I've got a chance. You know, I said that I wouldn't actually race this year unless I actually had a chance of winning, and I think I have got a chance, but I wouldn't rate it as better than an outside chance.
Is it a matter of working with other people though, or is it a solo effort in a race like the Berg?
No, Berg's too long to go on your own, unless you're a bit of a superhuman like Robbie. Robbie's been on his own the past couple of years, but certainly my efforts, I've always tended to work with people.
Ek sal nie al hierdie voorbereiding doen as ek nie werklik 'n kans gehad het nie. Dan sou maar net soos die gemiddelde mens voorberei het. Maar ek gaan vir 'n wen, ja.
The main forces in the strong Transvaal contingent, flying the local flag in the national B team, will be former winner Maynard Marais, Louw Malherbe, and Michael Cheeseman, with the sole Transvaaler Richard von Mansberg. Cheeseman talks about the race.
I'm going with a different approach this year and concentrating more on speed and not spending as much time on the river, and hopefully it'll pay off.
Soddenboland are prepared to host the 32nd Berg River Canoe Marathon, the country's premier marathon canoeing event. Final preparations made before the start in Pau.
I went through a tree, so it's rough.
And you're going to take it on?
I'm going to take it on. Why not?
The rougher it is, the more fun it is.
There's an international flavour to this year's event. Dutchman Rick Dahmen.
No, it's not my first time. I did it once in 1984, and because I was visiting my sister here, and I did the first day. I got a hole in my boat, and it's very rough water, but well, I'm very, very, very nervous because it's even more rough than it was before.
A little bit nervous. Not really sure what I'm in for today, but we'll see after about 4.5 hours, I guess.
We have no chance to follow in the first part here down the rapids and towards the tree blocks. So it's no idea to try to follow there. So we take it easy and be fresh the last hour when it's decent paddle. Then we'll get them. It's going to be tough enough without the international competition, but I think with them involved, it's going to be a hell of a race.
A race over 236 kilometers from Paarl to Veldrift over 4 very tough days. The first of them from Paarl to Zonquasdrift, a distance of 59 kilometers. And the leading contenders at the start. And right up front, defending champion, man chasing his third, Robbie Herefeld. Robert Lamberte from Natal. And the rest of the paddlers find their first tough hurdle.
Yes, the weir this year was a compulsory portage, very dangerous to shoot, and a crucial spot where the leaders had to do a quick portage and get away and build up an early lead.
Plenty of interest to see how the paddlers negotiate the weir, but out up front, Robbie Herefeld and 3 men with him.
Louw Malherbe from Western Province, Grant Williston, the former Springbok captain, and Graham Monteith, the former winner and veteran of the Berg River Marathon. These 4 paddlers have made full advantage of the critical breakaway point at the first weir. They'll work together now for the full day until they try and break away for honours at the end. Squilky low-level bridge. Louw Malherbe shoots it comfortably, born and bred on the banks of the river, followed by Grant Williston, defending champion Robbie Herefeld, and former winner Graham Monteith. They head now for the bushy section above Zikugat.
Meanwhile, at the low-level bridge, spectators assisting the other paddlers in shooting the bridge.
Near tragedy here, Graham Solomon, one of the leading youngsters in the race, failed to make the bridge. He's underneath. Nobody knows where he is. His boat got sucked underneath. The ultimate horror for a canoeist, a strainer as they call it. At this point, he'd in fact come out downstream, and they were trying to pull his boat out. He was very lucky that there was no debris underneath to keep him there.
And you can get an idea of the immense water pressure against that canoe.
Absolutely no doubt about it. In a tiny area like that, the entire Berg River is flooding underneath there, and there's tons of water pressure there. Very difficult to pull a boat out.
Oops, and you've got to look after yourself as well.
How'd you get out there?
Holding my breath well.
You got underneath the bridge?
Yeah.
Swam through.
The same thing is that you can get through. It's totally clear underneath. Thank goodness.
Meanwhile, up ahead, the leading quartet entered the forest section above Grensplaats.
Unusual pressure on the leaders today. They all know the traditional routes down to Grensplaats intimately. However, the huge floods that have hit this part of the river have caused tree blocks everywhere, and the route might well have changed. The slightest error could cost them the race here. The chasing groups behind them could get ahead and build up a lead over them.
In fact, so bad have the floods been in the Boerland over the last couple of weeks that the crop sprays, usually so active at this time of year, have been grounded.
The river, in fact, broke its banks in many places, flooding neighbouring farms.
Glorious scenery as the paddlers wound their way down the Berg River with, again, that leading foursome powering ahead.
Former Springbok captain Grant Williston setting the pace here as the paddlers, with an hour to go, reach the Abramses farm at Hermon. One of the great characters of the Berg River Marathon, Mrs. Peggy Abramse, who for 27 years has fed the backmarkers with soup and rolls.
110.
Leading lady Jean Yates doing sterling work on this first day.
She's really set the world of women's canoeing alight, taking on most of the men in the first 50 on this race.
Rick Darman, the Dutchman, in his second Berg, but not since 1984, and he's finding it tough going.
Go, Rick! The delightful characters, Rick, and former winner of the World Cup Series in Europe.
Australian Jane Hall, the only woman entrant in the international race. The sad luck story belonged to Sweden's Stefan Gustafsson, whose boat was broken early on the first day.
He took an horrendous swim just above Zikugat. We passed him there and he was hanging on to everything, but his boat was gone.
Up front, meanwhile, the battle continued between the 4 Springboks. They share the load.
Once again, Louw Malherbe setting the pace here as the end and Zonquasdrift gets closer and closer.
Now again, tactics very, very important here with different channels to take.
Definitely, and here Robbie Herefeld using all his guile and experience, having won the race for the last 2 years, takes a chance, stays with the main current and leaves the others to take a shortcut. This could prove a critical factor in the race overall.
Herefeld, just 21, has won the race twice already and possibly has taken the advantage here as the checkered flag for the end of the first day approaches, and Herefeld is a comfortable winner.
We worked together a bit, obviously, to open the gap. We saw Mark Cheeseman and Henk coming up from behind. Otherwise, we just paddled together from the start, and there was no fighting the whole way. It was a very clean race. Everybody was strong.
And a really top-class performance from Jean Yates. She finished 42nd overall. That's the highest a woman has ever finished on the first day. And well clear of the Australian Jane Hall.
The river conditions, the rapids, it's different sort of racing. We don't do that at home, and I guess they don't do it in Europe either.
The traditional Berg River brambles having taken their toll on the first day, and there are 3 days to go.
So Robbie Herefeld wins the first day in 3 hours, 39 minutes and 20 seconds, 7 seconds ahead of Graham Monteith, with Lomal Herba third, and Grant Wollaston fourth, 26 seconds down.
You might have seen on the news 1 or 2 paddlers nearly came short in the water. One of them was the Swedish ace, second in last year's World Championship, Stefan Gustafsson. Stefan, it's nice to have you here with us. You did have some narrow moments today. What actually happened?
Yeah, I got smashed on another boat and smashed up on a tree block, and the current was really strong there. I fell in the water and under the tree block, and was under the surface for half a minute or something, and came up without boat, without paddle, without anything.
It sounds amusing, but it's not. It's very dangerous. But I take it you have now been given permission to carry on unofficially in a new boat.
Yeah, my boat crashed, and I borrowed the boat from one of the members of the South African team, so I can go.
How do conditions in Sweden compare with conditions here in South Africa?
In Sweden we have mostly lakes, flat water paddling, big lake systems, some channels, some small rivers, never those strong currents.
And you arrived the day before, on Monday, had a quick look at the river.
Actually, I arrived on Saturday, so I paddled 3 days on the river. I paddled this part of the river for 2 times, so it wasn't that awful. I think it was good paddling. I just have bad luck, and your paddlers are very good.
They certainly are very strong. Just in
Yeah.
case people think that the lights are going out on you, Stefan, we're here at the campfire on the Berg River. We have a variety of lighting here. But very nice to have you here in Africa paddling on our rivers. My other guest is Jane Hall from Australia, third in last year's World Championships. You've had a very good year, Jane, but not such a good day today.
No, it was pretty bad, in fact. I came out at one of the rapids and continued on, got lost. I followed some people. I thought they knew where they were going, and I guess we all got lost together and ended up getting scratched around by the bramble bushes, which were all underwater, and eventually made my way out, but I'm well off the pace now.
What did you expect before you came to paddle in South Africa?
I expected that the trees would be on the banks and not in the middle of the river, and that the bramble bushes would also be on the banks and not in the middle of the river. So I didn't expect this.
I take it, though, while you were practicing for the race, you also had that sort of experience. You scrambled up and found you were up an Australian tree.
Yes, I fell out on Saturday when the river was 3.5 metres higher, I believe, than today. And I fell out and climbed up this tree, and I had to laugh because I was sitting in the middle of an African river, and I was there in an Australian gum tree.
Well, Jane, we certainly hope that things go better for you tomorrow. And Stefan, for you, good luck in your new boat. We look forward to seeing both of you on the water again tomorrow. Robbie Herefeld aiming for a hat-trick of wins, the only other man to have done it, Jannie Malherbe in the 60s. So it's a big challenge here for this young Johannesburg paddler. At the start, fairly cool weather, and the wind was to come up incredibly as the paddlers get ready for the start of the 43-kilometer stage from Sonkwas Drift to Bridgetown. Stefan Hugo, the current record holder. Will Robbie Herefeld break his record on this second stage? A last goodbye to the fans, and then it's off, and 322 paddlers on their way in the second stage of the Berg River Marathon.
After a good night's rest, the paddlers prepare for the second day and the start at Zonquas Drift.
It definitely will be harder than yesterday. The level's not too bad. It's a lot lower than what we think. It's dropped about another foot overnight. Depends how low it is downstream. We might catch water. We probably will. But I'm fairly confident.
Grant Wollaston setting the pace through the first narrow channels. And downstream, Robbie Herefeld defending his 7-second lead. And a new face amongst the leaders today, Mike Cheeseman from Western Province, having had a disastrous start on day one, has fought his way back into contention here.
Conditions fairly calm at the start, but once they reached the Canoe Bridge, almost storm-strength wind as they went under the bridge. Herefeld with Cheeseman and Wollaston, and then Monteith.
Lots of support from the locals.
Stefan Gustafsson, the Swede, back in the water.
Yes, an unprecedented move. He lost his boat on the first day, but the organisers have seen fit to allow him back on the water. Some of the top paddlers, they want to test their mettle against him. He's one of the top paddlers in Europe, having been unbeaten in Sweden for 6 years and second in the World Championships.
Jean Yates, meanwhile, the leading lady, continues a terrific performance. She's just ahead of Dean Simpson. Plenty of options available for the paddlers this year.
Yes, and you can see the indecision amongst the leaders here. This is one of the traditional shortcuts, but there's such a lot of water going around the right. 3 of the boats choose to go right, and one of the paddlers decides to take the traditional shortcut through the bushes, and it remains to be seen who will make the right decision. Could well be that they come out plus minus at the same place.
It's Robbie Herefeld who's chosen the traditional shortcut. And he may have cased this out before the day's paddle.
Yes, make no error. Robbie does his homework and he has a good look at the river in a rubber duck beforehand. He's very professional in his preparation. However, here, the first 3 have got away from him a little bit, but I don't think he'll have much trouble getting back. Graham Monteith, in fact, paddling pretty slowly, allowing him to come back.
What number?
One of the most beautiful sporting events in the country, the Berg. As the paddlers wind their way through the valley and holding her own among the men in the blue canoe there with the white peak is the First Lady, Jean Yates.
She's putting up a tremendous performance here among some of the top paddlers. To paddle in the first 50 on the Berg, you've really got to be good.
And these 4 are in the second group of paddlers in the race.
Ironman Henk Watermeyer setting the pace here with Transvaal teammate young Richard van Mansberg, former winner Maynard Marais, and the young Barend Spies, an up-and-coming Western Province star. Some way behind the leaders, however. They've got a lot of ground to make up.
Up front, Grant Wollaston battling as Robbie Herefeld has him in his sights.
Herefeld's very comfortable here. You can see he's having absolutely no trouble on these flooded waters. Wollaston, however, is quite happy to sit back on the wave. They're just above Bridgetown now, and you'll see the awesome power of Robbie Herefeld here as he just powers away from Wollaston and consolidates his lead, taking a further 43 seconds out of the field on his way to victory at Veldrift.
Graham Monteith further back. He dropped off that leading pace-setting pair, and with him is Michael Cheeseman.
Mike Cheeseman's had a great day here after a disastrous start on day one. He's fought his way back into 4th place. Excellent performance today.
Herefeld once again confirms his status as the current Berg king.
He's obviously done his homework. He's in superb condition compared to the other paddlers and looking very comfortable after 2 days. Hard-working officials who make this race possible. A brilliant performance by former Bok captain Grant Wollaston. He's fought his way back into 2nd place today. He'll be well pleased with that.
Cheeseman and Monteith fill 3rd and 4th places.
A lot of wind out there in the middle of the day, and gusting here and there.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad because it was a side wind and because the banks were quite high. So we had a fair bit, but no, it wasn't bad at all.
You're satisfied with where you are obviously for the rest of the race?
Yeah, I'm feeling strong. My first half of the race is always, it's never that good. but I come right in the second half. But yeah, I'm quite happy for the rest of the race.
No, Robbie's just ahead. Still 2 days to go.
Look, I think everyone knows he's quite a lot stronger than anyone else. He's put a lot more distance in and he's hell of a strong at the moment. It's just a case of who's going to be second and third.
Gene Yates still holds the ladies' lead, but Dean Simpson has cut into that lead.
It was a shorter day. I found that bunches were quite big and people were sort of doing intervals. It didn't settle down the whole way. And I had quite a hard day. I was fighting to get back onto the bunch all the time.
Now an unofficial competitor, Stefan Gustafsson from Sweden, found it hard going.
It's a hard race, really hard race. I mean, this section was the shortest, but I'm tired.
And the boat's laid to rest, albeit just overnight. And last-minute preparations before darkness for Jane Hall, the Australian. And in darkness, a wonderful bonfire to sit around in the cool evening. Slightly smaller fire. And just repairing damage to body and limb. Key areas in a paddler's body being massaged. Grant Wollaston, one of the leading paddlers. And Michael Cheeseman enjoying the soup. And the foreigners, Tommy Carls, Dennis van Vlaanderen and Rick Darman relaxing. And there is the leaderboard. Robbie Herefeld and Grant Wollaston, Graham Monteith. But they're some way off Robbie Herefeld, Cheeseman and Lomal Herba. Gene Yates leads the ladies' event comfortably from Dean Simpson and Ritzy Haynes. Day 3 and a terrifically hard paddle. It's 70 kilometers from Bridgetown to Zoutkloof.
Ons mis hier op Bridgetown, maar vanoggend mooi skoon en oop. Die manne maak reg. Dis die by verre die langste skof en feitelik alles platwater.
Robert Lamberte from Natal, looking forward to a hard day's paddle.
Omdat dit plat is die wegspring natuurlijk baie belangrik. Jou glystroom hier is van die uiterste belang en as jy die voorste groep mis, nou ja, jy gaan hulle nie weer inhaal nie. Daar is nie weer werklik kanse vir kort paaie of stroomversnellings nie.
Robbie Herefeld heads downstream to join the rest of the paddlers at the start. Always quite a tense time for the paddlers.
Ja, altyd. Want daar's stroom. Daar's meer stroom as wat dit lyk en daar gaan hulle voorste ry van 10, rye van 10 en ja, dis die swakker manne en nou is dit ook koershou want die canoes is natuurlik maar nou en hulle hou nie altyd so reguit nie.
You see Grant Wollaston, Richard van Mansberg and the rest of the leaders head downstream.
Alreeds tekens van die wind wat voor lê. Nog nie werklik dam nie, dis maar die begin van die misverstand dam. Maar die rippels is reeds daar.
And the wind can be both friend and foe in this event. But up front already, a fairly strong diamond of 10 paddlers is developing.
Die klassieke formasie.
And that is classic. A skull of 4 joining in on the side of the river.
Ja, in die windtoestande is dit nie bloot die glystroom nie, dis ook die verskuiling as dit ware van die wind wat die roeiers noop om agter mekaar te roei. Eerste draapplek en daarom baie belangrik om 'n goeie posisie hier te handhaaf. Grant Wollaston, Robbie Herefeld, heel gepas die twee voorlopers.
Well done by Herefeld, out quickly and a trip around the wall at the Misverstand Dam. There's Maynard Marais in the leading pack.
Lede van die Suid-Afrikaanse span natuurlik. Maar die buitelanders wat vanweë die moeilike toestande nie so goed vaar nie.
And there's one of them, Tommy Carls, the Swede. Lost his teammate Stefan Gustafsson. But he's battling on.
Groep met die eerste dame, ons sien vir Lonkie Ekemans, JT Besson en dan natuurlik Gene Yates.
Polio victim as a child, Gene needs assistance on the portage sections. But going very, very well in the ladies' race.
Ja, uitstekend onder die eerste 50 wat baie goed is vir 'n dame. terug by die voorlopers, Robbie Herreveld, Lou Malherbe, en nou is dit belangrik, daar's 'n vernouing in die rivier net onderkant die dambal. So die manne wil baie graag nou 'n goeie posisie handhaaf. Vandag gaan Robbie volstoom. Pad na wat hy sou wou wees, sy derde titel.
He's in first, Malherbe next to him. We'll want to get closer. Dennis van Vlaanderen, a Dutch paddler, going well on day 3. Trying to get used to the conditions.
Andre Collins, veteraan, ja, is nie altyd plek vir almal nie. Heel wat skuim hier op die water van die dambal en die groot wind nog nie helemaal daar nie, die rivier nog relatief nou.
It's Jane Hall, the Australian, and she's really taking strain on day 3.
Duidelik so.
He's an unofficial competitor at the moment. Stefan Gustafsson started the day 10 minutes behind the last paddler, but he's really going well.
Een van die werklike groot marathonroeiers op plat water. Die Berg miskien 'n bietjie rof oor die eerste 2 dae vir hom.
Meanwhile, up ahead, a bit of a split as top 4 men, led by Robbie Herreveld, get away from 2 of the paddlers.
Ja, Lou Malherbe en daai paar lentes kan baie belangrik wees op die plat water vir hom.
I think Vartamay also in that front 4, and a new section of the river.
Ja, by Moravia, 'n nuwe laagwaterbrug en daar gaan die manne want weer eens hier is dit uitklim, inklim en dan daar's nie eintlik nie plek vir al 6 daar saam by mekaar nie en daarom is dit so belangrik om voor te bly op hierdie punt.
Malherbe and Herreveld, there's Wollaston, Cheeseman.
Teeth wou links gaan, dit werk nie lekker vir hom nie. Hy moet nou terugval en dit kan vir hom probleme skep. Robbie steeds gerieflik.
Herreveld out first once again.
En hy het die voordeel, want die eerste man het die oop water, die oop wal en die ander manne moet maar bietjie oor mekaar klim en bots en dis meer en dis nie so maklik nie. Die inkimplek is eintlik net plek vir een op 'n slag. Cheeseman, Malherbe, Herreveld reeds in. Raymond Teeth nou sukkel het, want hy's laaste, daar is nie werklik plek nie. 6 manne is bietjie baie vir die eerste bondel en prakties eintlik die einde van sy goue medalje. Eerste 5 is weg. Monteith nou eers in sig. Daar kom hy en hy kon nooit weer bykom.
At the same takeout point, here comes Gene Yates, looking for a bit of assistance. And the canoe's next to her, and not quite getting it.
Altyd oorywerig, klim bietjie vroeg uit, water nog te diep.
Meanwhile, up front, Michael Cheeseman leads the leading bunch. Grant Wollaston, Henk Vartamay, Lou Malherbe and Robbie Herreveld.
Eerste 5 natuurlik goue medaljes. So op hierdie stadium sal daai manne saamwerk om te wil konsolideer en later weer begin stry vir die plekke self.
And along the river, some were lucky enough to experience the hospitality of the local farmers. And back to the action of the river. At the back, Wollaston and Cheeseman, Herreveld, Henk Vartamay, and then right in front, Lou Malherbe doing the work.
Baie makliker as wat dit is, gracieus, maar die wind het nou reeds begin optel. En dit verg altyd konsentrasie. Daai canoes is nou in een fout, soos ons reeds geleer het, en daar is 'n fout. Te vroeg uit, hulle weet daar's 'n kort pad in die enigste op hierdie skof, ander kan die bosse, maar hulle weet nie presies waar nie, want die rivier vlak wissel die hele tyd.
Mike Cheeseman says a different entrance into the shortcut. Well, maybe there is.
Ja, dit werk vir hulle. Hulle kom uit. Robbie Herreveld voor Lou Malherbe by hom.
Bit of a gap back to Cheeseman as they near the finish. And so Gloof. And it's Herreveld once again who's just edged out Lou Malherbe.
Daar is skof en 'n ry vir hom. Weereens dit lyk maklik, maar hy is so 'n goeie roeier en hy is op sulke topvorm. Hy laat dit maklik lyk.
21-year-old Robbie Herreveld once again stamps his authority on the Berg.
Eerste 5 is in, wind tel op en dit raak al hoe moeiliker. Ja, nou manne nog op die water.
We'll be looking out for their paddlers, and here comes Dean Simpson, second in the ladies' race. It's been a terrific performance from her, with Jean Yates still holding on to the first place, but very emotional at the end of a very trying day for Jean Yates.
Sy was goed voor, fout met die laaste draaiplek, ingehaal. Nou ja.
Confirmation, Herreveld a 66-second lead over Wollaston, and on flat water to come, that is worth its weight in gold. Cheeseman in third place, Lou Malherbe and Henk Bartemeyer out of reach. After a cool, somewhat blustery evening camping out, preparations made for the final stage and the slog through to Veldrift and Port Owen on the last leg of this Berg River Canoe Marathon. Provisions close at hand for one of the paddlers.
Laas nag 'n baie sterk wind, groot veiligheidsprobleme geskep vir die organiseerders. Daar sou baie groot branders gewees het vandag, maar gelukkig vanoggend doodstil.
And the start from Zoutkloof and the big race to get into the leading groups.
Die dag heeltemal plat en daarom wegspring van kritiese belang. Jy moet jou glystroom kry en jy moet hom hou.
Lou Malherbe, Grant Wollaston, Graham Monteith, Michael Cheeseman, Robbie Herreveld, the race leader.
En op die spreekwoordelike diamant. Alom bekend as die beste stuk glystroom om te kan vaar.
Herreveld immediately getting into that formation and for a while leading it. Lou Malherbe is with him, but you can see Henk Bartemeyer going out in front as well. They start forming up into the lead bunch. In the early stages, the bunch was quite large.
Baie typies, roeiers ry op plat water nooit alleen nie. Mens sal altyd die bonnels op hierdie laaste skof daar sien. Ons 2 bonnels wat reeds gegroepeer het.
Well, cutting across the open spaces created by the heavy rains recently, the groups taking all the shortcuts possible and rejoining the mainstream.
Ja, op stadium so ver as 2 kilometers weg van die hoofstroom, maar nou terug in die kanaal.
Once again the lead group.
Omdat 'n tydtoets volg oor die laaste 10 kilometer, is die manne nie te angstig om te hard te roei op hierdie stadium nie. Almal spaar hul kragte. Tydtoets kan natuurlik die hele prentjie verander.
Remember that Robbie Herreveld came into this stage with a 66-second lead over Grant Wollaston.
Tydtoets gaan alles bepaal. 66 sekondes is baie op 'n wedvaart self indien die manne saamroei. 'n Tydtoets wat oor bykans 'n uur plaasvind, is dit nie baie nie. Maar natuurlik Robbie Herreveld so sterk, so goed. Dit gaan baie goeie roei kos om op te klop.
Another indication of the high level of the water with the farm fences. The local farmers were telling us that a couple of days ago, just before the race, that the water was as high as it has been since 1948.
Voorlopers en Robbie Herreveld hier heel rustig en in die agtergrond van die deelnemers wat vanoggend 'n halfuur vroeër weggespring het. En mens kan sien die voorlopers begin nou heelwat van hierdie deelnemers inhaal.
Once again back with the lead group, and as you can see, 7 of them, 6 of them are Springboks, and Daniel Conradi is the 7th, and a very fine performance by him to be up with this lot.
Ja. goud vir die eerste 5, silwer vir die eerste 20 en dis die mikpunt van baie van daai manne. Al die eerste 5 plus Graham Monteith is dan in daai eerste groep. En daar haal nou van die agterosse as dit ware in. En die perspektief is heel duidelik. Die voorlopers lyk gemaklik, maar hulle spoed is heel wat vinniger as die van die ander.
And comfortably in control, Robbie Herefeld in the lead bunch. In the red up front is Michael Cheeseman, and well, it might be fairly calm on the water. That wind that bedeviled the race on the third day has died a little, but there's possibility of rain hampering the back markers as they battle through.
Ja, daar's 'n ander storie daar agter. Die manne is natuurlik nie so fiks nie en spaar maar hulle kragte en drink en eet op pad. Dit bly 'n baie lang wedvaart. Hy was nie lus vir daai nou gangetjie nie. En Andre Collins, sy 24ste wedvaart, 2 maal gewen.
Awaiting the paddlers at Kliphoek, where the leading 22 paddlers will take out and begin the time trial, as the remaining paddlers will continue on to the finish. Robbie Herefeld up front once again.
'n Blaaskans dan vir die eerste 22, terwyl die ander manne deurroei. Hulle sou waarskynlik verkies het om klaar te maak, veral in hierdie weer.
Good support for the paddlers as the rest of the field paddle on to the finish. Among them, Jean Yates, the leading lady, ahead of Dean Simpson still. But for the leading 22 paddlers, it is a time trial to the finish and a chance maybe to catch Robbie Herefeld.
I think that the top 3, our time trialing abilities are all very good. You know, we practice them in training sessions together, and we've been shown to be very even. So if all goes well, I don't think that there should be any position changes between us.
Making up time on Robbie at the moment is a bit of a tall order. He's an excellent time trialist. At this stage, just keeping ahead of Michael, well, on time-wise, keeping ahead of Michael will be quite sufficient for me.
Grant Wollaston then, he's just over a minute behind Herefeld, and he starts 2 minutes ahead of him in the time trial.
Just less than 2 minutes. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
And away goes the race leader at the back of the field, and he has Wollaston in his sights. Up ahead, Michael Cheeseman in 3rd place. Time trial all alone. You don't have the advantage of paddling in a bunch on a diamond. It's hard work against the wind. Not so for the glorious sight of the flamingos in full flight. Grant Wollaston, as the rain starts to come down, he finds a shortcut to the finish. They're near Veldrift, Robbie Herefeld, and he is really putting on the power as he starts to haul in Grant Wollaston. It's been a very, very impressive performance by the 21-year-old. The finish at Port Owen. And Lo Malherbe coming home to take very well paddled 4th place. Grew up on the banks of the Berg. His father was a 3-time winner. Michael Cheeseman taking 3rd place, and he'll be happy with that. Grant Wollaston, 2nd place for the Italian. And they all want a shot of the man who continues to reign as the king of the Berg, Robbie Herefeld, the 3rd consecutive victory in this marathon, undoubtedly South Africa's marathon champion. Gracious in defeat, Wollaston, Cheeseman and Malherbe will congratulate a man who's proved to be the stronger over the 4 days. Herefeld then, 2 minutes and 35 seconds ahead of Wollaston, Cheeseman 3rd, Malherbe 4th, and Henk Watermeyer in 5th place. Jean Yates won the ladies' event ahead of Dean Simpson, with Beth Libby coming home in 3rd position. The juniors event was won by David Fernandez of Peninsula Canoeing Club. Glenn McGregor from Milnerton won the veterans event, and Mike Wilmot from Florida won the masters event. The internationals, well, they learnt a great deal about paddling this great river. Perhaps next year they'll return with that knowledge and deliver a greater challenge to the South African team.